identify as black? No, it's a serious question because you might not identify. Can you please put the mic?
That's a very idiotic question. Extremely idiotic question already to start the video.
Do you identify as black? No, it's a serious question because you might not identify. Can you please put the mic? Thank you.
That's a very idiotic question. Extremely idiotic question already to start the video. He's obviously black. I don't even know. Maybe this is some type of leftist propaganda. And I don't even want to say leftist because I don't want to classify everyone on the left as this. But when did we get to the point where we'll look at someone who's obviously black and ask them, do you identify as black? That's like me making people ask me if I identify as black. I'm obviously black. I don't really know what else I can physically be. But basically, there's going to be some type of debate here between the student and someone named Alan West. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Do you identify as black? No, it's a serious question because you might not identify. Can you please put the mic? Thank you. Okay.
When I walked into the room,
I am not done with my question.
Hey, young lady.
I'm just asking you to listen to me while
I'm about to answer your first question.
But I didn't finish my question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm black.
Less than 9% of the people in this room are black, and we're all not here for you. Do you think there are racial inequalities in America? And how do you feel about Trump increasing both economic inequality and discrimination for people of color and LGBTQ people? What about violence against marginalized people in the United States? Can you talk about that?
Well, the subject was about, national security and foreign policy. But I will tell you that I think in the minority community, in the black community, I think they're pretty happy that unemployment isn't at an all-time low in the United States of America for Hispanic and black communities, and that's the truth. As a matter of fact, overall unemployment is an all-time low. So if you want to break the pay gap or racial inequality gap, the most important thing is my parents taught me, who were black, born and raised down south, was about equality of opportunity and not equality of outcomes. I would challenge you to read the book by a black man by the name of Booker T. Washington called Up From Slavery, okay?
That's funny, because W.E.B. Du Bois is much better at describing the racial inequalities in America that you are denying that happen now. And to say that, we are better and unemployment is down is dismissing the fact that a lot of LGBTQ people are in trouble right now because of your administration. And a lot of black
I'm not
people.
in administration. I'm just a guy.
You are supporting the administration, though, aren't you?
I'm not speaking for the administration.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know that.
I'm just a private citizen. I'm just Joe Sixpack.
Okay, I have a second question. I'm sorry.
Okay, that was a little insane. I can tell the student is very passionate about this topic. At the end of her statement, she brought up W.E.B. Du Bois and how he would talk about the inequalities, and that's a point that I kind of want to touch on. W.E.B. Du Bois was alive years ago, and when he did talk about things like this was years ago, like tens of years ago. So I just have a problem when people bring up really powerful black figures to support their modern racism arguments, because the problem is when these figures were out, such as W.E.B. Du Bois or Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X, they were living in a completely different time than we're living in now. A completely different time. There was actual civil rights. There were civil rights discussions, literally. They were real racism, Jim Crow laws that were actually discriminatory against black people. So when you bring up someone like W.E.B. Du Bois to support your modern racism argument, I lose respect for your stance. I really do, because you're basically disrespecting everything that they already fought for. They are the reasons why we're able to live so much better today, but instead you're pretending like their work amounted to nothing. You said W.E.B. Du Bois talked about the inequality we have now. No, he didn't. It's because of people like W.E.B. Du Bois that we're able to live a much better life. It's almost like when you have the really rich parent and the parent who really struggled growing up and they did everything to really climb out of a bad situation, and they have kids after they move to the suburbs, and their kids grow up in a nice suburban neighborhood. They get the cars, they go to nice schools, and then the kid says, "Oh, I got out the hood," or the kid says, "Oh, I've been struggling my whole life." As a parent, if you see that, you're going to be like, "What are you talking about? I was the one who actually struggled. I gave you a good life." That's kind of the vibe I get from this discussion. You bring up these figures to talk about, oh, the racism. No, that's not fair to the people who fought for us. That's not fair to how far we've come as a people. Next thing, you brought up your dislike for Trump and his administration and how he's the reason there's black financial inequality, and then you brought up he's the reason why there's LGBTQ financial inequality. I'm just a little, honestly, I'm a little confused about that. I really am. During Trump's presidency, there was lows for unemployment for minority communities. And also during the past presidency, there was a job crisis and there was a housing crisis. Another thing is, why are you trying to blame a president for a community's inability to have financial success? That, I don't think that's a fair thing. I think there are cultural things that could be changed. But anyways, let's finish this video out.
Sorry for my tone. Previously, I was just frustrated.
That's okay. I have two daughters. They talk to me like that often.
Thank you. My question
But
is...
I cut them off with their allowance, though.
Well, you don't have that ability here.
I know.
My question is about national security, because I do feel like the KKK and white nationalists are threats to black individuals in the United States. There have been multiple shootings recently within the last 10 years, and there have been an increase of violence against black people. And I wanted to know if you think that that's a national security issue and how you would address that.
Yeah, I think it's a national security issue right here in the south side of Chicago, where you have a combat zone going on, and Rahm Emanuel and everyone just seems to not care, or as well as in Baltimore or other places. And that's black on black crime. That's not KKK or whatever.
What about white on black crime? I'm sorry, but that's what I was asking.
Okay. Well, then, have you ever heard of Margaret Sanger?
You can't just give one example for
Well, Margaret Sanger and the organization that she founded since 1973, almost 17 million unborn black babies have been murdered by that organization. I think that's something that we should really be concerned about. The fact that the United States government gives $568.7 million to an organization that was founded by a white supremacist, a racist, a person that spoke at Klan rallies, that referred to blacks as undesirables and weeds, I would join forces with you in a heartbeat to say that we need to cut off funding to an organization like that called Planned Parenthood. Well, I don't think we give taxpayer money to the Ku Klux Klan.
It's a terrorist organization that has not been targeted by the FBI.
Well, yeah, they have. The FBI goes after white supremacist organizations, but then I would ask you, why is it that nobody goes after Antifa? I mean, I think Antifa is also a domestic terrorist organization. I mean, look at what they have done at certain colleges and universities to prevent people from going out there and freely speaking. So let's call a ball and a strike. And so there are many organizations out there that we need to be targeting. But I will tell you, first and foremost, we shouldn't give $568.7 million to an organization like that. And if you do some research, I think between 50 to 55% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in black communities.
So I will give the young woman some credit. I think she's extremely passionate about this topic. And she did apologize for her outburst, which was a very responsible thing to do. I will say her last question about a domestic security threat on white on black crime, I think she and he were having a completely different conversation. She said, what about white on black crime? Because when she initially asked the question, does he think that that's a domestic security threat? He didn't necessarily answer the question in the same realm how she expected it to. He went up another realm. He brought up the war zone happening in the south side the south side of Chicago. He brought up Planned Parenthood issues. And the reason he brought up these issues is because he's saying, if you believe that there's some domestic security threat against the black community, you have to look at the things that are really eradicating the black community, such as, in his eyes, Planned Parenthood, or in his eyes, gang violence. That's the way he answered the question. I'm unsure if she understood that, because she tried to revert it back to white on black crime. But the way he approached it was if she cared about black people being harmed. He brought up, in his eyes, the biggest harms to the African American community. She ignored that. So it's implied that she doesn't necessarily care about black people being harmed. She cares about white people harming black people. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think this was a pretty good video. I think Alan West is pretty intelligent. And yeah, it's LFR Jojo, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.